Happy Saturday or good day to you wherever you are on planet Earth if you happen to stumble across this video. I hope it finds you and everybody who matters the most to you all as happy, healthy, prosperous, and as safe as you can possibly be. Purpose of this video is because this is my YouTube channel and this is just part of me, CayJ's thoughts. I will express and explain, even though I don't have to, as you don't have to anyone as to why you are the way you are, you believe whatever it is you believe. However, because of, I call it the perilous state of being that those of us here in the United States and frankly around the world are experiencing at the hands of a relatively tiny fraction of people. When you look at the approximately 8 billion of we earthlings here on this planet, we're pretty much held hostage to the whims of the very few people who are in power, who are the loudest, who are the most prone to violence, who are the most armed. And we are bending and being made to bend to their will based on whatever their ideological beliefs are, culturally, politically, or religiously. So here in the United States, where the United States, as far as religion is concerned, the majority of Americans who say they believe in religion claim to be Christians. So Christianity is the largest religion in the United States. Christianity is the largest religion in the world, followed by Islam. So just think about that. You think about the Christian Bible, that those of you who were raised like me in the church, the Christian church, Protestant. So Christianity consists of Protestant, evangelical Christians, be they white, black, whatever their demographics, or Catholics, or Orthodox, or undenominational Christians, those, the majority that believe in the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and the few that don't, that still believe in a monolithic God where there's only God. If they recognize Jesus Christ, it's like how Judaism does. He was a rabbi. So I say all of that to say this. We all have our own ways of coping with stress, be it physical, psychological, emotional stress. Some people drink. Some people do drugs. Some people harm themselves in various ways. But a person, they internalize it. Well, I'm an internalizer. And when I get frustrated, get pissed off, get effing angry, it's all because of things that I can't control. And the only person I can control and you can control are the ones that we look and see in the mirror. That's us. So the reason I play all of this love song, it's like it takes me back to a time when I was a teenager in Coal City, North Carolina. I'm a little kid, lie on the top of my father's 67 Ford Galaxy 500 that he passed down to me, that I redid, drove it to college, got offers, many offers for it, almost died in it. But But the music I play takes me back to a time, I guess you could say I was a lovesick teenager, late bloomer to a lot of things, naive about a lot of things. As my father accurately said, fell in love too fast. That didn't change. That hasn't changed. What has changed is the wisdom, learning lots of lessons. And I've written before, and it's my truth for every woman, girlfriend I've ever had, 2 wives I've had, and now my new ride or die, Shirley. For every single person I ever told I love, if I told you I loved you, whether you're my first wife of 28 years, my second wife of 5 years, a girlfriend in between, fiancé in between, anybody I ever told, man, woman, or child, if I told you I love you, I love you. My love doesn't just turn off like a light switch because we move away or our relationship ends. But I say all of this, that to say this, right now my loyalties and love, I'm a one-woman man. Every time I was dumb enough trying to be what I envisioned a lot of men, especially my number one hero, my dad, whom I'm named after. My mom explained to me the kind of man my dad was. My dad explained to me the kind of man he was. He did not want me to make the same mistakes that he did. Number one being having fun, and as a consequence of the fun, bringing children into this world whose lives they weren't in, he wasn't in, and then when he attempted and wanted to be in, they were older and resentful, understandably so. So it's kind of like Shaquille O'Neal says it best. For those of you who weren't fortunate enough, like myself and my sister Cynthia and my brother Cedric, our parents were the late great Carrie Hoover Hargett Sr. and Helen Grace Harris Hargett, the best parents any child could want to have. So our family, Cedric, Yvette, mom and I, and dad and I, thankfully I saw my parents every night. We saw our parents every night, except for when dad was getting up to take off a load of lumber early in the morning. But he took me practically, it was like daddy, son, work day many times. So I will always cherish the memories, the great memories, and no one can take those memories away from me, no matter how they may have viewed interactions with me or relationships with me, be they good or bad. Unfortunately, I've spent too much time focusing on the relatively small percentage of negative things, when the vast majority of things in my life have been great, even growing up poor during the Jim Crow era, because we, Negroes, colored people, I think even white people, because when I grew up, I only saw black people and white people. I was born in 1960. Cove City, born Lenore Memorial Hospital in Kinston, North Carolina, but born but raised in Cove City, North Carolina, where the majority of my relatives still remain. Majority of my elders are still there, even though those of us who are baby boomers and later generations, we moved on to other places, no different than people around the country and around the world, where you're trying to make better lives for yourself and your families. As my parents and all the parents I knew, they didn't want us to be like them. They want us to be better than them. No different than I, as a parent, want my two to be better than me. Learn from my mistakes, as I did from my parents. I was able to tell my mom and dad I loved them. I thank them for allowing me to have the opportunity to proverbially stand upon their shoulders, be the first one in the family to graduate from college. My dad didn't even graduate from elementary school because of sharecropping and how life was. The majority of the men who are my elders, my uncles and great uncles, also never finished elementary school or high school. So for those of us who like to complain, and all of us can complain, I just reflect back on my childhood, and I reflect back on the struggles that my mom, my dad, my grandparents, my uncles, my great uncles, great great grandparents. Basically, I'm only like 2.5, 3 generations from slavery. So for me, I cannot ignore the proverbial man behind the curtain, like the classic scene from The Wizard of Oz when the little dog Toto exposed the great and powerful Oz as being a wimp, a con man. So when I see what's happening in plain sight, and it's been happening in plain sight since I became aware as a 5 or 6 year old on the way to church one Sunday, passing 2 white churches, and I asked my mom, "Mama, why don't we go there?" She said, "That's white people go there, and we don't go to the same churches as white people." I said, "Why? Do they believe in Jesus?" She said, "Yes." "Do they believe in the same God?" Like, "Yes." Then we get down the middle of Main Street in Coal City, there's another church. I said, "Mama, why don't we go to that church?" She said, "Carrie Jr., that's another white church." I said, "Do they believe in Jesus?" "Yes, Carrie Jr." "Do they believe in the same God?" "Yes, Carrie Jr." So then we arrive at Bryant's Chapel. I think I'm a 5 or 6 year old kid back in 1965, 1966. Yet I was inquisitive and observant enough to know that something wasn't right. And thankfully, my parents weren't parents who would just say, "Shut up, don't ask questions like that." So we get to Bryant's Chapel. I said, "Mom, why don't we here at our church just go to one of the white churches?" She said, "No, Carrie Jr., here it's not like that. Black people, colored people, as we were called then, Negroes, colored people, and black and white people don't go to the same church." I said, "Okay, Mom, so they believe in Jesus and we believe in Jesus, yes. They believe in the same God and we believe in the same God. Yes, Carrie Jr." I said, "Okay, Mama." I said, "Mama?" She said, "Yes, Carrie Jr." "So that means there are 2 different heavens, right, Mama?" She said, "Carrie Jr., why would you ask that?" I, as a little 5 or 6 year old, could deduce and use my own little childlike common sense to say, "Mama, if white people and colored people do not want to go to the same church while they're living, why would they want to go to the same heaven when we all die? Why would we want to be together?" And my parents just said, "Wow." And from that moment on up until I turned into a teenager and basically joined the army and moved out, my parents and people from the church or elders would try to explain to me something that's impossible. Then it got to the point it was just total lunacy with some of the explanations I was given. But the classic one that we Christian, when I called myself a Christian, I don't call myself a Christian anymore. I stopped doing so about 12 years ago when I decided to stop lying to God, because God knew I was lying. I was simply conforming because I didn't want to break my mom's heart based on what my military career had taught me. Having a top secret security clearance, being authorized to lie on behalf of the United States government, going totally against what Jesus said in the book of John, chapter 8, verse 44, the devil being a liar. I was like, wow. It's like I'm a liar. My whole country is actually a liar. So if the United States of America were a person, according to how Jesus characterized what the devil is, being a liar and murderer from the beginning, the United States would satisfy how one of the Ayatollahs call us the great Satan. Because the United States, since its founding, if it were a person, has been a murderer and liar from the very beginning. How ironic. A nation that claims to be predominantly Christian, Bible believing, God fearing, God respecting, Jesus Christ epitomizing. But right now, just look at the Dominion defamation lawsuit and what it has exposed about Fox News, a station that is watched by more American viewers than any other network. A station that caters to conservative right wing and people who claim to be Christians. A station, therefore, that basically serves as a propaganda network to promote the interests of people who claim to be followers of Jesus Christ, that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior, claim that the God of Abraham is the same God that Muslims and Jews are supposed to worship, as well as Christian. We all just refer to him as different God, Jehovah, Allah, Yahweh, and other names. So for me, when I was a little kid, 5 or 6, it didn't make any sense. Knew something was terribly wrong. And now as an almost 63-year-old man that's in front of you, it's total lunacy to see what's happening now, where the people who claim to be the most holier than thou are actually the people who continue to be the worst people among us at this moment in time and throughout history. What do I mean? Vladimir Putin is a Christian. His senior Christian leader supports his military operation, his war, his destruction against the people of Ukraine. Ukraine is a predominantly Christian nation that's led by a president who is a Jew. How weird. The United States is a predominantly Christian nation. Who's doing all the terrible things? In Iran, in Afghanistan, the leaders there are supposedly devout Muslims. Look at what the government in Iran is doing to women just for wearing a head dressing. They're killing people. Look at what the Taliban just recently doing again to the women and girls in Afghanistan. They're barring them from going to school. Now look at what the predominantly white males who are in power in state governments and control the House and basically filibuster everything in the Senate. Look at what they're doing. Look at what the Supreme Court doing. So for you women here in the United States and around the world that outnumber all of us, if we're all going to just sit back and let this happen, maybe whatever God is saying, you humans, I've been trying to tell you something over and over, but you're not listening. Maybe you're going to continue to learn the hard way. and I won't have to destroy you. You'll destroy yourselves. So we are going backwards. And if you can't see and you can't hear, and your common sense and logic doesn't tell you that lying, regardless of whether you believe in religion of God or not, when you know people who are leading us or you are following are lying to you or lying to others, and you see other people acting upon those lies, liars who are believed by ordinary, good, and decent people who may be a bit too gullible have basically managed to make servants and slaves and robots out of their constituents who will act upon the lies of the leaders who have microphones in the largest Billy pulpit, the largest audiences on television by virtue of their positions, or in churches or in organizations, podcasts, internet stations, whatever. And they get paid a lot of money to lie and keep us in conflict. So whether you believe in God or not, or religion, if you're a Christian, the book of Proverbs, chapter 6, verses 16 through 19, tells all Christians and anybody who can go and Google easy to read versions on any of your favorite sites, BibleGateway.com and many others. You can pull up easy to read version, King James version, whatever version you want, and read it for yourself. And if you find the ones that have red writing, for Christians, that's supposed to signify that's the actual word of Jesus Christ. And for those Christians, I'm just reminding, for those of you who don't know, Christians are taught to believe that the Bible is the literal word of God, the God of Abraham, written by men who were supposedly inspired by the God of Abraham to write the truth. So the Christian Bible is supposed to be a handbook of how Christians are supposed to live and treat each other and treat other people. So think about all the people who claim to be Christians, and they are totally disregarding what Proverbs 6, 16 through 19 says. It says, there are 6 things that God hates, and the 7th is an abomination in the sight of God. So when you read that and you think about all the Christians, whatever their religious faith, whatever their political ideology is, and you hear them every day, think about who's violating all of those things. And they clearly keep proving they don't give a damn about what Proverbs 6, 16 through 19 says, nor do they give a damn about what their professed Lord and Savior Jesus Christ says in the book of John chapter 8, when Jesus, not me, clearly states the characteristics of the devil. And the devil is supposedly a liar, the father of lies, and was a murderer from the beginning. So for all the people, I call them fake ass Christians, they can be fake ass Muslims, fake ass Jews. I don't know of any stories where Jesus and his disciples killed anybody. I haven't read the Quran much, but I don't know stories about Muhammad going around killing people, lots of people, because they didn't follow the word, didn't want to accept the good news. But why is it now that people in power are forcing those of us who don't share their ideological beliefs? They're making us, here in the United States, it's like an American apartheid system is coming into play, because the census of 2045, the projection is that white only Americans will no longer be the predominant largest group. Once you combine all the non-white ethnic groups together, people of color will outnumber them, and that appears to be what is terrifying, and we are going backwards. So if if you can't see it and you can't hear it, and you can't use your own brain to see what Dominion defamation lawsuit has exposed about Fox News, has the largest viewership of Americans. So people believe Fox News. They don't even believe the truth anymore. That's one of the tactics that my military career taught me, that Adolf Hitler clearly says he learned just from observing what the American and British government did successfully in World War One. So Hitler isn't the one who created and mastered lying and propaganda. It's the Americans and the British. But Hitler gets all the blame. I can't believe I'm quoting Jesus in the Bible and Hitler. Don't believe me? Just read his book, Mein Kampf, Volume 1, Chapter 6, where it talks about war propaganda. You read it, I guarantee you will see and understand better what a supposedly crazy guy like me is talking about. Military leaders and those of you who are professionals about psychology, you understand what's going on. And if we're going to save ourselves from ourselves and save this democracy, because if democracy dies here in the United States, it's going to die across the world. And we likely will, a high probability, if we are alive, we will witness the most horrific event in the history of mankind, the known history. Because right now, Vladimir Putin is worse than Adolf Hitler. And if Donald Trump comes back together, because Adolf Hitler didn't have nuclear weapons, so we've been under the threat of nuclear annihilation, and since one of the treaties went into place, I think it was 1957 or whatever. So we all could be vaporized, especially if we live near a military base. And those of us up here in the National Capital Region, a missile from a Russian sub or anyone's sub off the Atlantic coast could vaporize us in a matter of minutes or seconds. So I play this love music, and I'm romancing my new lady, my ride or die Shirley, because as I tell her, as I'm telling you, our next second isn't promised to come. So I'm going to enjoy my life for the rest of my life. I would much prefer to hold a guitar than go pick up a rifle, because technically, as a retired military person, as I and approximately 18 million of my fellow brethren who are retired, if we get a military pension, if the crap hits the fan, whoever the president is and whoever's in Congress, they have the power, whether we like them or not, whether we think they're morally fit or not. The George Santoses, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Matt Gaetz, the Kevin McCarthy's, Jim Jordan, Lindsey Graham's, the whole cast of characters. Those people have life or death decision-making powers over those of us who are obligated, those who are currently serving on active duty in a reserve status, and those of us who are retired like me. They can make the decision to declare war. Think about that. We take that same oath. Those of us who wear the uniform, those of us who are serving, those of us, the thousands, millions that have died, that are in national cemeteries, they paid the ultimate sacrifice because they took their oath to the Constitution serious. Can we honestly say to people who are in office now that all of them are worthy of making a decision to send somebody else, son and daughter, to die when they are part of destroying our democracy in plain sight? So yes, I play this music and I'm saying what I say because it's my truth. People can think whatever they want to of me. Shirley and I believe that God sees what's in our heart. We've never admitted to being perfect. I've never admitted to being perfect. I never admitted to being a know-it-all, even though people say, you think you're perfect, you think you know everything. Well, what do you do when you can apologize to people? They don't, yet they claim to believe in God and claim that God is all-knowing. I will never again get pissed off at God and do what I did, so I know what the wrath of God would do. I often like, God, what don't you do to all these other people who are doing and leaders and terrify them? They will never do it again, but that's not my call. So I'm doing what I do now. So as I tell Shirley, we're letting our light so shine. And if anyone out there can feel what I'm saying, and I'm not perfect, never claimed to be. But and to anyone, especially my children, my love of you is not conditioned. It has no conditions. What has conditions is being treated with respect. Respect works both ways. And as I've told you and everyone else and here now, neither I nor any of you should go through your life apologizing to people who keep throwing the same stuff in your face over and over again. Don't want you to look at your own past because it causes them difficulties, but they don't give a shit about what you or I feel. So, my children are adults. I am adult. Shirley is an adult. Her son is an adult. It is our time. So, hopefully, regardless of what your age and your circumstances are, enjoy your life because the next second isn't promised to come. This music I play is like chicken soup for my soul. And as I say, I would rather hold a guitar or my ride or die partner for the rest of my life, Shirley. Just like the women I had before, people I loved you and I still love you. But right now, Shirley is it. I shall be faithful to her as I was faithful in my last marriage, but I wasn't faithful in my first marriage. Take care. Hopefully you get something positive and pay it forward. If you can be your best you and I can be my best me, it's kind of like those ripples. Throw one rock in a pond, a still body of water, you get a ripple. Throw a whole bunch of them, you can maybe help make a proverbial wave, and maybe we can together make a tidal wave and wash away this evil and get back on track. Because we, the people, the approximately 8 billion people, should not be in fear of any single person. The needs of the one should not outweigh the needs of the many, as is a famous line from the character Spock in the series Star Trek. So the Putins of the world, the Kim Jong-uns, the Trumps, the Santoses, there should be no man or woman that the majority of the people fear. I can't think which one of the founders said it, but or is attributed to one of the founders or misattributed. But the people should not fear their government or their leader. Their government and their people should be terrified of what the people can do. So let's be good, make some things happen without violence, and make the lives of the majority of mankind better, and not just the few, the richest and most powerful, who are basically manipulating us through the media, keeping us in division. Like Sun Tzu says, the way to defeat in the art of war, the way to defeat a force that's larger is to divide it. We here in the United States are divided and are on the verge of collapsing like the Roman Empire by people within our own government and country. We're being destroyed by not foreigners, but Americans with the help of foreigners who are urging us on, but mostly Americans. That's all I have to say, little country boy from Cove City, North Carolina. I got love for you if you got love for me. But right now, most of my love, God comes first. And my girl, Shirley. Have a great day.